They're on your dial and all,
You gotta do
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Good morning.
Okay. Now I got my cue. There we go. So we had some questions here. What happens if a person took a neder? We're going to start from the top of the page. Imtim Salomar, Nazirus Mu'atis. This was a question that was posed, Rabbi's question, right? Imtim Salomar, Nazirus Mu'atis, Kimin Dasara Yomin with the Yisrin. If a person only had a regular Nazirus of 30 days, and then he had a new Nazirus of 20 days that was going to go into effect afterwards. So then, since there would only be 10 days left from his first Nazirus, and that's not enough for Gidol Sar, the hair to grow, so we say let him finish his first Nazirus, and then and then he'll start the Nazirus that was supposed to start after 20 days. It'll start after 30 days. The 30 days he'll finish the first Nazirus, he'll bring his Kabbanos, and then he'll have his next Nazirus. Into so Nazirus Muletis, given the Sarah Yamin, the Yisrin Lo Sadik Le, Halein Asara Vadai, that these 10 for sure are not going to be enough for him to finish his to grow enough hair to have a tiglachas of 30 days. So then we know that it gets suspended. The 20 days get suspended. So Nazir Me'ayom, but what if he took a Nazirus for 100 days, and then there was a second Nazirus that's supposed to take place after 20 days? Given the Islay time in Yomin, the Besop, since he's going to have 80 days left over after the 30-day Nazirus cuts off the first Nazirus after 20 days. So if he'll have 20 days, then he'll count the second Nazirus for 30 days. He'll do all of his hair cutting. He'll have another 80 days left from the first Nazirus. That'll be enough time for him to grow his hair. So therefore, so therefore that should be good. Olo, so maybe that should be good. So that's a Imtim Salomar. So we paskin that with Imtim Salomar Chayli, that it is good that you could start the first Nazirus right away and then start the second Nazirus after 20 days, and that's all fine. That's the way we would paskin. But what if he says, I'm already nazir the achad yom? What if he says, I'm going to start my second Nazirus, I'm going to start a Nazirus after 20 days, but now in the Akshav, I'm going to start a Nazirus right now that's going to be a permanent Nazirus that's not allowed to ever be cut off because it goes on forever. Nazir Olam. Nazir Olam, we just say the Hifmisawa Meko Batara, that every 30 days he takes a little bit of a trim, but otherwise the Nazirus goes on forever. So Mao, Michaela Aleh, so we say that the Nazirus Olam can be chal despite the fact that it's you're never really going to be able to activate the 20-day Nazirus afterwards, and the 20-day Nazirus came first. So we say Michaela Leolo. So the answer is Imtim Solomar Hacha Kimin de Efsha Lichule Chayla. That in this particular case, because you could, it's Efsha B'Sheila. What does that mean? It's Efsha B'Sheila. That the 20-day Nazirus that comes afterwards, he could be shoal, he can undo it. So therefore, it's not impossible for him to start being a Nazir Olam and worry that, he's going to violate his first Nazirus, because the first Nazirus, he could nullify through going to a Chacham. So that's the halacha. So the halacha is, in this case, after 20 days, he just continues being a Nazir Olam. He starts out being a Nazir Olam, and he's a Nazir Olam, Liolam. Forever. The 20-day Nazirus never occurs. You had no right to override it because it came first. You're not overriding it. You always have the ability to suspend it anyway, to do away with it by going to a chacham to be shoal al neder. But what then if he says Amar already knows the Shimshon le'achar esrim yom? What if he says after 20 days I'm going to start a Nazirus Shimshon? Nazirus Shimshon, he doesn't have the ability to be shoal aleha. He doesn't have the ability to go to a chacham because that's why when we say Ataris Nedarim on Erev Rosh Hashanah, a lot of the nuschos say Chutz Nazirus Shimshon, that we're nullifying every single neder except in Nazirus Shimshon. Nazirus Shimshon is not capable. It's not capable of nullification. Some nuschos say Afilu Nazirus Shimshon because you figure maybe there's a shita somewhere that says you really can nullify it, so you'll be on the safe side. Why not? You're nullifying all the other vows, but strictly speaking, it's Chutz Nazirus Shimshon. You can't nullify Nazirus Shimshon. What? Every other kind of Nazirus, every Nazirus can be nullified. even somebody who takes upon himself to be a Nazir, Olam except in Nazir Shimshon. Nazir Shimshon, he was in the, that was imposed upon him when he was in his mother's womb. So that's not capable of Sheila. That's not something that can be nullified. It could be, or somebody could say, I'm going to take upon myself to be like Shimshon. He said, a person can say, I'll be like Shimshon, but if you like Shimshon, then you could be Matami Lames. So there's one benefit of that particular Naziva. So you can't drink wine, but you could be Matami Lames, and you can't cut your hair, but you also can't nullify the Nazirus. Nazir Stam. The person says, and now I'm going to be a Nazir Stam. Mahu. So do we say that in this particular case, because he started off saying he's going to be a Nazir Shimshon, so that one really has to work because of the fact that it can't be nullified. So the Naziva Stam that he wants to take upon himself right now, so really that shouldn't go into effect at all. So we said, do we say in this particular case, because of the fact that it can't really be chal, because you don't have the ability to be shoel on the Nazirus, so do we say that the first Nazirus is good, and then you would just play it out and let it go the 30 days and cut your hair and then do the Nazir Shimshon afterwards? Although, do we say no, since you can't be shoel, so therefore the Nazir Shimshon must go into effect after 20 days, and that's what the halacha is going to be. So that's what the Rambam paskins. Just to open up the Rambam over here, he says, Amar Cheni Mama already Nazir Shimshon. He says, I'm going to be a Nazir Shimshon le'achar esrim yom. Because of Yama already Nazir miata. Enu megaleach l'naziru zu she'nadar ba'acharona. So basically, what happens in this case, it says the Rambam, is that he does start the second Nazirus, and he goes to 20 days, but then after the 20 days, he has to start the Nazir Shimshon. Once he starts the Nazir, we say that we can't just finish the first Nazirus. We can't finish the first Nazirus because of the fact that the Nazir Shimshon is not one that has the ability to be suspended. So therefore, it has to go into effect. Once it goes into effect, it goes into effect forever, and therefore it just stays into effect. It stays in effect afterwards, and therefore the person remains a Nazir Shimshon forever afterwards. Amar, yeah.
In that case, since he doesn't end the original zeros, because the other zeros has never been in. Is it suspended and therefore he's allowed to become Pame, or is it kind of still there?
I don't think so. I think that once he's in the Nazir Shimshon, so then he's subject to all of the halachos of the Nazir Shimshon for that period of time. I think so. It's or at least it's indefinitely suspended, but it's not going on while he's a Nazir Shimshon. He's not. I don't think he's subject to the laws of the other Naziris. Don't think so. Okay. Then we have the question of what if a person makes a cryptic statement? Amar Moshe b'shiva ba'adar mai. He says, I'm going to be like Moshe on the seventh day of Adar, meaning Moshe died on the seventh day of Adar. So the question here, there are different interpretations of the question. We'll go with Tosos's interpretation. This is the person saying that, oh, this is a happy day for me, like the day that Moshe was born, right? Remember, Haman was very excited when his goel found out it fell out on Adar, because it was the month in which Moshe died. But Lo Yada, Ki B'Zayin Adar, Meis Moshe, B'Zayin Adar, Nolan Moshe. He didn't realize Zayin Adar is also the day that Moshe was born. So when this person says, I'm like Moshe and Shiva B'Adar, does he mean the birthday of Moshe? This is the day that Moshe was born. We're going to have a big birthday party. I'm very, very happy. So he does not becoming a Nazir. A Nazir is like, I'm sad about something, so I'm going to be a Nazir. Or does he mean that I'm like the reaction to Moshe's death when Moshe died on Zayin Adar, in which case he wants to be a Nazir, because Tosa says that when Moshe died, Rabu Nazirim b'Yisrael machmas tzar. Many people became a Nazir because they were so sad that Moshe died. So that's what he means. He means I'm also like all those people when Moshe died. I also want to make myself a Nazir. So we don't know. Okay, so that question we don't resolve. Generally speaking, we say Safek Nazirus Lahakil. Okay, so Pashtim Minayo Kadmaisa. So let's try to resolve at least the first question. Already Nazir La'achar Esrim Yom, where we had asked what happens if a person says that 100-day Nazirus is going to go into a place right now, but I'm also going to be a Nazir. He's announced this at the beginning. I'm going to be a Nazir after 20 days. So what happens? So we say, yeah, he'll start his Nazirus right now for 20 days. He'll interrupt it to be a Nazir for 30 days afterwards, and then he'll resume his original Nazirus for another 80 days. After he'll count the first 20 days, of his 100-day Nazirus, then he'll count the 30-day Nazirus that he said originally that will go into effect after 20 days. He'll bring his Korbanos, and then he'll count another 80 days because the Hashlim Nazirus Rishona in order to complete the first Nazirus, and then he'll bring another set of, take another haircut and bring another set of Korbanos. Not in that order. He brings the Korbanos, then he takes the haircut. Nitma b'mei b'no. What if the person took the neder that we had in our Mishnah, right? That he's going to be a Nazir, and he's going to be a Nazir when his son is born. So he started counting his own Nazirus, then his son was born. So he counts 30 days of the Nazirus that he pledged for when his son is going to be born. And then he completes his own Nazirus afterwards if it's more than 30 days, right? So let's say that he became Tameh during the interim period when he is a Nazir because of the vow that he took that he'll be a Nazir when his son is born. So Rabbi Yochanan Amar Soser. Rabbi Yochanan says that this cancels out all of the days, not only the days of the Nazirus for his son, but even the days, the first 20 days that he had counted of his, let's say, 100-day Nazirus that he had begun before his son was born, all of the days have to be recounted. Reish Lakish Amar Eino Soser. Reish Lakish says nothing doing. Reish Lakish says it only is Soser the days that he's in Nazirus for his son, but the original 20 days that he sat for his own Nazirus, those remain intact. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Soser, we pass like Rabbi Yochanan. We pass like Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Soser. Rabbi Yochanan says no. It's true that these are two different sets of Nazirus, but it's still one. But it's still a Nazirus. Chad Nazirus Arichtei. He didn't even bring korbanos after the first Nazirus. He only counted 20 days. He's going to bring Nazirus. He's going to bring a korban after he sits the 30 days of Nazirus based on his son being born, and then he'll have another 80, and then he'll have another 80 days afterwards. But this unit is really one unit that's followed by the bringing of korbanos. So therefore, he soser all the days. Reish Lakish Amar. Reish Lakish has a different svara. He says Eino Soser Nazirus the day lechud the berei lechud. Reish Lakish says it's two different. His Nazirus is just suspended. It's going to be continued afterwards. Then you have a separate standalone 30-day period for Nazirus of his summer. We're asking like Rabbi Yochanan. Next case, Nitma b'mei tzaraso. What if a person started out being a Nazir? Yes. Oh,
man.
Should have started with that earlier. Okay. Nitma b'mei tzaraso. If he became Tameh during the days of his tzaras, he started out being a Nazir, and then he became a tzaras. So he had to interrupt his Nazirus in order to count the days, in order to get over his tzaras. He was a Mitzvah Muchlat. And after a person is a Mitzvah Muchlat, he then has to cut his hair, not based on being a Nazir, but based on being a Mitzvah. A Mitzvah has to cut his hair at the end of his tzaras period after he becomes purified from his tzaras, because it requires a separate hair cutting process. Those days that he's a Mitzvah Muchlat don't count towards his Nazirus. So let's say during those days he becomes a Tameh. So now it's not a separate period of time of Nazirus. It's a separate period of time of tzaras. So maybe then it would not count in order to overturn his days. Because if it becomes a Tameh Mace, maybe it wouldn't count to overturn his first counting of, let's say, 20 days or whatever it was before he became a Mitzvah. So Rabbi Yochanan are here too, Soser. No, in this case as well, he still is within his Nazirus, because once he's going to be healed from his tzaras, he's going to just complete all the days of his Nazirus. So therefore, it's considered like the Nazirus is still in motion. Reish Lakish Amar Eino Soser. Reish Lakish says no, for sure. If he wasn't Soser in the case where it was another Nazirus, so certainly in a case where the second counting, the second period is not Nazirus, it's tzaras. For sure, if he became Tameh during that period of time, we understand that according to Reish Lakish, it wouldn't be Soser the original days that he counted. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Soser. Rabbi Yochanan says no, it undoes the original days. He has to recount the original days. Tav Nazirus guy, because his Nazirus never ended, and he's just going to complete the days. We're going to count the original days of Nazirus, just going to be mashlim them. We're going to complete them afterwards. So he's still within his Nazirus. Reish Lakish Amar Eino Soser. Reish Lakish says no. This is a separate standalone period. Tzaras l'chud, Nazirus l'chud. The period of tzaras stands alone, and this period of Nazirus stands alone. So with tzricha, we need to record the machlokas Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish in both of these cases. The Idmar v'hachamaisa. If we only would have recorded the machlokas in the first case where the person was a nazir for himself, then he was a nazir because of the vow that he would be a nazir when his son is born. V'hayamar Rabbi Yochanan. So I would have understood in that case. Rabbi Yochanan says Soser. When it becomes Tameh, so it unravels all of the days that he had previously counted, because Shem Nazirus Akasi, because it's all one big Nazirus. It's the Nazirus for himself and Nazirus for his son. Avabaha, but it may be in the case where he became tummy when he's at saras and he's not a nazir at all during, or he's not, he's in a period of saras and not in a period of naziris. But Baha Ema Modile, the Reish Lakish, at the Naz Luchud, Saras Luchud, maybe he would agree with Reish Lakish that it would not be so severe, that it would not unravel or cancel the original days. And if I would have only had the case of Saras, so Baha Kama Reish Lakish, so I would have said only in the case of Saras is it considered to be standing alone and wouldn't cancel the original days. So Baha. However, in the other case, when it's two different sets of Naziris, one for himself and one for his son, it became tummy during Naziris for his son. Ema Modile the Rabbi Yochanan, maybe you would agree with Rabbi Yochanan, it's one big Naziris, then therefore when it becomes tummy, it would cancel the previous days that he accounted for his own Naziris as well. Sricha, that's why I have to record the machlokas in both cases. As we mentioned, the halakha, of course, is like Rabbi Yochanan against Reish Lakish, that in both cases, it would be so that once it becomes tummy, all the previous days counted would be canceled and would have to be redone. What if he became tummy the day of Gidul Seir, the day that his hair is supposed to be cut? So there are two different interpretations, at least, as to what this case is. According to Rashi or the Mefarish, over here, the case is that the person took on an Naziris of 100 days, and then he counted 70 days, and he became a Mitzorah. And now, after he had cut his hair for being a Mitzorah, when he purified from being a Mitzorah, he still has another 30 days. And then at the end of the 30 days, the last one of the 30 days, that's called Yom Gidul Seir. This is when he's ready to finish his Naziris. So that's when he becomes Tameh. Does it cancel out only 30 days, or does it cancel out the entire 100 days? So Rav Amar Eino Soser. Rav says that it does not cancel the entire, it doesn't cancel the 70 days that came before the Tsaras. It only cancels the last period of 30 days. The way that the Rambam learns the Shaila is no. Nidima Biyom Gidol Seyar is talking about when a regular Nazir who brought his korbanos and he didn't get around to cutting his hair. And then the next day, he's going to cut his hair and then he becomes Tameh. So does he have to recount, his entire Naziris because he became Tameh before he's cut his hair? And the answer is no, because Tiglachas is not Me'akev. If a person bought their korbanos, but they didn't cut their hair yet, it's not Me'akev, and therefore, it would not cancel the Naziris. He wouldn't have to do it over again. So Rav Amar Eino Soser. Either way, the answer is it's not Soser. Afilu Rabbi Yochanan, even according to Rabbi Yochanan, the Amar Soser, who says that in the case of the consecutive Nazirises, or in the case where the person was a Nazir and then he was a Mitzorah, that it cancels everything. Hani mili heicha dekai b'Nazirus, that's when he is within the period. He's in the heart, the midst of his period of Nazirus. But if he's only in the period of the Hashlama, of completing the Nazirus at the end, Gidul Seir Mishlam Nazirisu, he's only, basically just being a Nazir for purposes of finishing up an additional 30 days. So then everybody, even Rabbi Yochanan, would agree that if he became Tameh, would only have an effect on the last 30 days. And as I said, the Rambam learns the Sugya as to a regular Nazir. It's just Mishlam Naziris that he completed the main part of his Naziris by bringing Kabbanos. Shmuel Amar Soser. Shmuel holds, we don't hold like Shmuel because this is a machlokas b'Isuri. Whenever we have a machlokas between Rav and Shmuel, when it comes to Isurim, the halakha is always like Rav. If it's a machlokas in Mominus, so then the halakha is always like Shmuel. The way you remember that is v'salakta labonenu ki Ravu. That whatever it has to do with this better, so that you're passing like Rav. So Shmuel says no, it is Soser. Even according to Reish Lakish, who says who's always happy-go-lucky that we should be Soser everything. Not this case. I mean, even Reish Lakish says that we're not Soser anything. In this case, he says that so everything is perfectly fine because if you have a standalone unit, here he says it's not a standalone unit. Afilu Reish Lakish dame ain't Soser hasam shtei nazirus. There, that's because I'm saying that what happened in one Naziris is not going to have an effect with respect to a different Naziris. What happened in Saras is not going to have an effect with respect to Naziris. But Haka, we're talking about Chad and Nazirusa. We're just talking about somebody who was in one Naziris and he had a 70-day period. There was an interruption. Now he's in the remaining 30-day period, but it's still the same Naziris. Therefore, it's so there. So Rav Chisda Akomodim. Rav Chisda says everybody agrees. She'im kidesh eseir b'dam. That if the person had bought korbanos, if the person had bought korbanos, ein lo takana, that there is no takana. What does that mean? Kidesh seir b'dam. It means that the person had bought their korbanos, and now they just have to cut their hair, and then it's bedam. They become tummy at that point in time. That there is no takana. So what does that mean? There's no takana. So aliba deman, aliba de Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer is of the opinion that taking a haircut is me'akev. That is something, the Nazirus is not over until the haircut is taken. So therefore, as long as a person hasn't taken a haircut, they're still very much in the middle of their Nazirus, and it should cancel out all the days previously. But according to the Chachamim, the Chachamim are of the opinion, this is a machlokes, which is later on, according to the Chachamim, tziklachas is not miyakid, and therefore, who cares? So we say no. The olam aliba de rabbanim. This is going like the Chachamim. When we say that there's no takana, it means now that the person became tamei, they're not going to be able to cut their hair for purposes of nazirus, because now they're going to have to sit as a tamei mace. The mitzvah piluach is supposed to be juxtaposed to when the kabbanas are born. Now that the person became tamei, before they could cut their hair, they're not going to be able to fulfill that mitzvah, but they don't have to redo the nazir. So I'm Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina, Nazir Shekalo Yamav. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina says, if I have a nazir that they have completed their count, let's say they're a nazir of 30 days, they've completed their count. So loka alatuma. So now they're going to get malchus if they become tamei. At this point in time, they're going to become, meaning that they completed their 30 days, or if they were a nazir for 100 days, they completed their 100 days, and now they have to bring their kabbonos and they have to cut their hair and so forth. So what if before all of this happens, they become tamei mace, so they get malchus alatuma be'eno lokel atiklachas lo alayayin. But they don't get a malchus at this point in time with respect to the tiklachas. If they cut their hair prior to bringing korbanos, they did it in the wrong order. They cut their hair beforehand, or they drank wine before they were supposed to bring the korbanos. So for that, they wouldn't get malchus. They'd only get malchus for becoming a tamei mace. So, of course, it's only intentional. You only get malchus for intentional sins. Right. So it was done by Mace. The person, was tamei mace on purpose, right? Okay. So he only gets malchus becoming a tamei mace. So we're not going to pass it like Rabbi Yossi or Rabbi Chanina, but that's his opinion. But Ma'ishna Tuma. So let's try to understand his opinion. Ma'ishna Tuma Delaki. Why is it that he would get malchus for becoming a tamei mace, going to a funeral on purpose during this period of time? Why is that? To Amakra. Because the pasuk says, "Kol yemei aziro laHashem, al nefesh meis lo yavo." All the days, it's a call. All the days of his nazirus, he's not allowed to come into contact with a dead body. L'rabos yomim shlacham malos, ki yomim shlifnei malos. So that includes that if it was a 30-day period and now it's day 31, he hasn't bought his kabbanos yet. So because it says call all the days, so that includes even day 31. If he hasn't bought his kabbanos yet, he would be over on a lot. If that's if that's the case, so if he cut his hair before bringing kabbanos, it should be the same then. Because it says with respect to the cutting of the hair, it also has the word call, right? Because it says call yemei neder nizro tar lo yavor arosho. That should also include the same principle. Lasos yomim shla'achar malos ki yomim shlifnei malos. And not only that, but it also says that with respect to the drinking of the wine, it says that the lashon of the Yisro also includes the word call, all the days. Call Yemein Israel, call Asher Yasem Migefen Hayayin, Mechatzarim Ba'adzag Lo Yochel, right? Lasos Yomim Shalacham Malos, Ki Yomim Shlifnei Malos. So what is right? These seem like knockout kashas of Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina. So what is Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina going to answer? So he'll say like this: Shiny Yaka, he'll say, no, the case of the becoming a tamei mace is different. Amar Rachmana b'tamei rosh nizro. That with respect to becoming a tamei mace, if a nazir becomes a tamei mace, so the pasuk says that he becomes a tamei rosh b'timei rosh nizro. That the tuma is something which goes to the heart of his nazirus. Mishin Nizro. Taloi lo be'rosho. So it's a mashma that this pasuk is mashma like it's coming to include this case. that even a person that all that they have left is that they haven't cut their hair, and they still are they still will be liable for becoming a tamei mace. So that's really what we're relying upon, not the word call so much. So we say mesrei, but the problem with Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Chanina's shita is that it's directly or diametrically against a tosefta, because the tosefta says like this. The Tosefta says the person gets malchus for doing any one of these infractions, any one of these three infractions, after their Nazir's period has concluded and before the korbanos have been brought. Nazir shekololo yamav. You have a Nazir where the Nazir's period has come to an end, so he's not allowed to do any of these three things. Also, the Galeach, he can't cut his hair and before he brings his korbanos. Belishtos yayin, can't drink the wine before he brings his korbanos. Tame lamesim, he's not allowed to become a tamei mace before he brings his korbanos. And if he did cut his hair, or he drank wine, or he became a tamei mace, in all three of the cases, we're going to whack him. And not only in the case of tamei mace, raise that sofeg gets him, then he would get the malchus. So we say, yeah, you know what? So you have to. That's it. Rabbi Yosef Chanina's opinion has to be rejected. Stop here. Okay.